Welcome, FlossTube, to another video. It is November, I think it's the 7th. Another month has gone by before we know it, and then here we are again. If you are joining me again, welcome back. I'm so glad that you've come back and come to visit. If you're new here, welcome. I hope that you find some interesting things to watch and listen to, and we can have a nice little talk with each other. Anyway, most of this video is going to be about cross stitch this time. I don't have as many other things to talk about because, you know, we're getting into the fall here, and so that means the weather's getting kind of yucky. So I'm not outside doing things, mostly inside, going to work, whatever. So don't have as many other things to talk about. So I think we're going to go ahead and jump right into it because I want to make sure we can make this video maybe not as long as normal. So the things that I don't talk about that aren't cross-stitch related, I will kind of cover one right now and then the other one towards the end. And those, I've been talking about some books that I read. I am not a fast reader, so you're not going to hear a lot of books talked about. I have tried to read a little bit more, be more consistent about reading. Try to read every day. Most of the time I do. Sometimes it's just, you know, whatever happens, like whether I'm really tired or whatever, I can't. But yeah, I usually try and get in some. I have started doing this reading journal. So this cute little reading journal with this cute little saying on it. And so it gives you places to do all kinds of stuff. So it's got tabs, so you have monthly things, so you got things like this to put on there, as well as more daily kind of stuff, so you can write down little notes about what you read and you know, try to remember all the different things that have been going on in the story. And so I have been doing that, which helps a bit to kind of formulate my thoughts and how I feel about a book and whatnot. So that's helped a lot. So the first one I wanted to share with you was the book I read through my Once Upon a Book Club, my reading club. So they send a book to me once a month, as well as little gifts that you open as you get to certain pages in your book. So they correlate to what's being talked about in the book. So that is the book that I'm going to start off with for today. I cannot find that book. So I'm going to show you, this is what it is. This is What Remains. Okay. It is by Wendy Walker. That is who wrote this book. It's a thriller. So that's the genre of it. I rated it kind of like out of 5 stars, 3.5, because thrillers aren't usually something I would pick to read. I like mysteries, but not necessarily thrillers aspect of it. So it was okay, and I read it, and it was fine. It just wasn't quite up to where, you know, I would want something I probably would have picked out. And that's kind of why I like this club, is it kind of gives you some choices maybe you wouldn't normally pick. So it gives you kind of outside of your just normal standard stuff that you always read. The biggest thing that's, you know, with the thriller aspect of it, my curtain is moving because my cat's back there. And now she's crying. Is that with it being the thriller and, you know, the suspenseful part of it is that it's, you know, it's a more current book, so it's dealing with more current technology and what people can do with that technology. In this case, more for harm than good. So it's a little disturbing, some of the, you know, thinking about some of the things that people could do. The other bad thing about this is the main character is a cop. That's nothing new. If you read the little description in the back, that's nothing new. I'm going to try not to spoil any of these, the books that I'm going to talk about. But it's the fact of, you know, not only the technology, but second, you know, her keeping secrets from her family and friends, which you would normally think of, maybe that would be more helpful to her than hurtful. So that, you know, all of that goes into play and kind of how I rated it. It's like, oh gosh. And I know you have to have suspense and you have to have certain things to make a story flow right and come out the way you want it to, but it doesn't. The whole aspect of it is just a little bit disturbing for that story. If you like that kind of stuff, then go for it. It would be a good story to read, definitely. But if that's not really your genre and you don't care for it, then, you know, it's kind of, yeah, maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. The second book that I did end up getting through was this one, The Most Beautiful Girl in Cuba. It is Chanel Clayton is the author. Okay, and she did a wonderful job on this. This is considered a historical fiction. So it is based on a woman who was actually labeled the most beautiful girl in Cuba in the late 1800s. As a caveat to this story and review and whatnot is, you know, when we go to school as children and we learn history, a lot of times for us in the U.S., we have U.S. history, and then sometimes we're going to have, and a lot of times in high school, it alternates between U.S. history and world history. So you're getting a lot of aspects of world history, but the world is a very big place beyond the U.S., and so there's only so much that they can either teach you in the class or that you're going to retain. So this is one of the things that I did not either learn about or I didn't remember, is how much control Spain, the country of Spain, had on countries, and surprisingly some of the countries that involved. So I just didn't remember that Spain had control of Cuba during that time period. The other places that they had control and that they talked about specifically during this time period was Puerto Rico, which makes sense if they had control over Cuba. But the two that really surprised me was Guam and the Philippines. I had no idea that they had control of them. So this is about Cuba trying to earn its, you know, independence from Spain. It's the revolutionaries within the country, which is usually just the people, the poor people, that were trying to wrest away the power of Spain and try and get their own independence. This woman ends up in prison, and another part of the story is there's 3 women that are in this story that are kind of the main characters. One's a gal who wants to be a newspaper writer, and then 2 women in Cuba. The newspapers that they're kind of putting in with the fiction part of this, even though it was true, they did have them. Pulitzer had a newspaper in New York, and Hearst had a newspaper in New York. And, you know, they were very much competing against each other, but Hearst wanted to get this woman that was the most beautiful girl in Cuba out of prison, so wanted to help her escape. And the reason that he wanted to do that is because if he brought her to America and she told her story and toured around and kept telling her story, that would cause the American people to try to urge Congress to, and the president and as well, to be in favor of going to war against Spain to help Cuba earn its independence. So that's kind of what the whole story wraps around. So it was a really good book. I gave it 5 stars because I really like historical fiction, and I really liked the story and how they wrapped up all 3 of those characters, those main female characters in the story together, as well as the whole aspects of history that I didn't know about. So I definitely would recommend it. It was a very good book. And with that, we're done with our book reviews, and we will move on to the stitching part. I'm going to move some of this stuff here. Okay. So stitching stuff. I have, all of them are whips except for one. One is a new start. So let's just see what we've gotten up to. And there's no specific order that I'm going to show these in. So the first one, and the other thing I'm going to try, because I think I can, tell you all the fabrics or floss changes or whatever else I've done to each of these projects. So yay, I'll look at all those. All right, so the first one is this. This is the Sam's in Stripes, the Cricut collection. Okay, so you get this little added thing here, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about these guys. So that is what I am stitching, and I'll show you what I've stitched so far, as well as some information about it. So here we go. So we've got the nice tall guy, and then we've got more of the short guy who's going to be holding the flag, which waves above their heads. So I'll get that real close. One of the options that they said you could do was, instead of using a gold thread, was to use a Kreinik for the buttons and some of the other details. So you can see here that he's got Kreinik on his shoulders as well as down the front of him. This guy will have the gold buttons, and then his keychain or watch chain that hangs down here will be in the Kreinik as well. So there we go. Now the fabric I used for this was the linen lamb's wool. It's a 32 count. So that is the fabric I used. I don't think that was the called for. Let me see if it lists here what they had used. Yeah, they used something else. Yeah, dirty linen, Zygwart Belfast linen. So a little bit different, not a ton. You can see how they have it displayed. One's in a red tray and one's in a frame. I had gotten this at StitchCon when I went this year. They had this last year as well, and they had it on display. And they had framed it or finished it in this. So you can see it's like old rulers. So they were selling these in the annex both years that I was there, last year and this year. And they had finished that part with the SAMs on this side. So I am going to do the same thing. So it's going to be fun and lovely, and I can't wait to get that finished. That will be a lot of fun. All right, so I'm going to put this away as I go so that I don't have a complete mess around here, and just helps for the end of the video. The next one is my watercolor owl. So I'll show you a little closer so you can see some of the detail. I am getting really close to finishing this. There's not a lot left. Put something behind it here. So here we go. That's what I have done so far. There's a little bit more full stitches up here in the top part of the owl. And as you can see, there's like a set of 4 stitches, full stitches here and here. And those are going to be sprinkled around the outside as well. There's some single full stitches like this one is sprinkled, and then a lot of half stitches. So there you can see how that is sprinkled around the outside, and you do have those set of 4s, singles, and then the half stitches, as well as some outlining, some back stitching, so you can see within the feathers, around the ears, all that. So there is some that will need to be back stitched, but that is what I have so far. Getting really, really close to finishing it. So yeah, that is lovely. Love, love, love it. Put that all away. I think I did forget to tell you on this, the fabric. See, I've lapsed into my, I don't have the tag, but this is just the typical stuff that you can get at Joann's and whatnot. I think probably Zygwart, I'm not sure. You know, it's got that rustic look to it. Okay, I believe this is 14 count. So that is what I'm using for that. Pretty sure all of the colors are the same. This is a Russian designer, Svetlana, and you can see her last name there. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. Just ordered this as a PDF and printed it myself. So that is all there is to that one. Alrighty, the next one we've got is this lovely. Okay, so this is Stars and Stripes, and it is a dual designer by Plum Street Samplers and Shakespeare's Peddler. So we've got the 2 different things, 2 different houses. Got stars, stripes, and then the ampersand. So you can choose to do all parts, whatever. It seems like if you are only going to do one of the buildings, that you almost have to leave off the stars and the stripes word. Otherwise, if you just do one, it's kind of like, what is that for? So you would need to figure out if you're gonna do them all or maybe just part of it. And let's get that out for you to see. And then I'll tell you what the fabric is and all that. So there is that. I believe I'm using the called for colors. So the called for, I'll zoom up on here a little bit so you can see that. Yes, there's only one that I've changed. One color that I end up changing, and I am going to find out where that's at. Oh, of course, I can't find it that fast. Oh, where are you? I know I used it. I know I used it. I'm just not seeing it. So it's one of the lighter colors. So you can see there's some creamy colors. I believe it's one of those. It could be kind of a slightly darker than that. This bugs me that I can't find it now. Because I know what it's for. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. That's why I didn't look at the right thing. Okay. I know what it is. It's the letters here. So that is my S, and there's a T. So it's not really stand out, you know, in your face there. But that's just the way it is. If you look at this, see the stars there, or where it says stripes. It blends in a lot with the fabric. Now, I did not use the called for fabric. The fabric I am using is called Tabby Cat Linen Muddy Duck. Quite the name, isn't it? It's the 36 count that I used, which is just, I think they recommended 40 count, but I couldn't find the right color. For one, I couldn't find the exact color that they suggested, but something that would have been good and, you know, similar and what I'd like. I couldn't find in a 40 count, so I ended up going with this. Well, the color that the words are is Fawn from Weeks. When I stitched part of that, they really blend. It really, I mean, it was almost the exact same color as my fabric. You can tell right now that it just off enough that it's a little bit more noticeable. So I ended up going with parchment. So it made it stand out just a little bit more. Okay, so that is what I have done so far. Going to be really cute when we're done. It is a little bit bigger than I thought, so you can see compared to my hand how big this is. And if you look at the picture, it seems like they're not that big. So it'll be a little bigger, but it's lovely so far. I love it. It's getting there. Alrighty, let's get this all tucked away again. And let's see if I can figure out, get that in there. Okay, and yeah, let's go with some fun one here. The next one is this little guy. So we got Stack of Snow. And there is the designer, Amy. Okay, so I changed a lot. I changed a lot of this. I don't have the name of the fabric, but this is stuff I've used a lot in other things before because it's just the right color that I like to use for a lot of things. And it's this lovely blue. Okay. There's all that. Got a little bit of modeling look to it. You can kind of see that. I believe this is a 28 count fabric. I'm going to fold that down so I can hold it a little bit better. 28 count. Got our letters here. So there's only like a couple of colors that I kept that were the same as what was suggested. Part of it was because I didn't care for some of the colors, like the green checkered. I didn't care for the shade of green that it was in, and so I ended up changing it to this more muted, toned down color. So those were different. And some of it, a lot of this called for Fancy Floss, which I didn't have a lot of it. And so they did have the DMC conversion. And it was kind of like, well, I don't know that I care for that color. So I think I changed all but 2 things. So just the way it ended up going. The one thing I did have to change that made it a little bit, it's like I stitched it and then, no, that's not right. I'm going to have to change it again, is, let me hold some stuff here. This swirly, and it swirls down through the tree, and it swirls a little bit in here, and I think there's a little bit more. I started off using this, which is Tartan Plaid by Classic Colorworks. The problem when I used it is it blended in too much with that green. Now, I know you can't see it as well on the video, but you can see it a little bit better close up. You can see where that swirl stuff goes on. This really it just blended in. It was almost like there's no difference. So I had to come up with something else. And I ended up using this. So it's a little lighter, not quite blend in so much. This is Jaybird by Weeks. And not only did I use this, but I used some blending filament, some silver. So these 2 together, 1 strand of the blue and 1 strand, a strand of that. And that is what I used for the swirl. So now you can see that it's got a little bit of sparkle as well. So it makes it a little bit more fun to see that. You can see it sparkling there. So this is getting really close to being finished as well. Not too much longer, and then it will be done. Dun, dun, dun. It's always fun putting everything back while we're just trying not to waste too much time. Oh, one other quick little thing I forgot to tell you is this. It did come with, I'm trying not to show you. Let's turn this around a little bit. It did come with their noses. So little button noses, carrot noses, as well as this little pearl, and that will go on the top of the hat there. So that did come with it. So if I ever pass this pattern along, they would not have noses to go with. They'd have to get their own noses, or else just stitch some, because that works too. Alrighty, let's see here. The next one we have, one of my favorites, Beloved. So this is Running with Scissors and Needle and Scissors. Okay, so that's who made this. I had the designer sign this. I can't tell what that says, and I don't remember her name, so I can't tell you what it is. I saw her at StitchCon, so she was able to sign this for me. I love this. In case you're wondering where the title came from, it is from Song of Solomon. It's 6:3. It says, I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He grazes among the lilies. So that's where she got the title for this. So there is all the goodness of it. I changed the fabric because I couldn't find the fabric I wanted, the called for, and I found something I liked just as well. There's only one color change that I made, so I'll tell you about that as I show you, so it makes it a little easier to explain. And there is what I've got. So this is the Atomic Ranch Fabrics is what I'm using. Okay, it is Blue Ridge, and it is a 40 count. There's the little tag that goes with it. So that is what I did, and so you can see the top's all done. The first uppercase alphabet's done, part of the lowercase, and then it goes into this wave before it finishes the little bit of the lowercase here, and then it goes into numbers. So the one thing that I changed, so I'm going to open this and find what I can out of here. I thought I kept it, but I don't see it in here. The leaf colors, and I mentioned this in one of the other videos, I had to change that. So the dark part, the really, really dark part here is 500, and the color that coordinates it next to it, so not kind of the mustardy yellow color, but the other green part, was a totally different color than this. And it looked way off, including, you know, when I compare it to what's here. So I went and I am using 501 in that place instead of the other color that it called for, which was 988. That was the color that it called for, and I did not like the way it looked, so I changed it and used that. So now my cat just jumped up here. Hopefully she's not going to bump the camera while I'm doing this. But yeah, this is a lovely shade. It kind of gets a little whited out from the lights, but you can kind of see glimpses of it as I'm kind of moving it around to see. It's not quite that white as what it's showing. So the way it looks right now, from where you can see it, that's more what the true color is compared to if I hold it up and it whites it out. So yeah, down here is where you can see what the true color is. So I love this. Love it, love it. We going to be a while on it because it's, you know, kind of big one and it takes a while to do each section. So now let's get all of our stuff put away as usual. Alrighty, the next one. I think this is my last whip. It is Rodney. Rodney's back. Okay. Rodney, it's Rebecca's sweetheart, apparently. Kathy Barrick is the designer for this. So lovely, lovely. I wanted to see if I have the information for, they suggested using, I'm trying to find my little fabric information here. They suggested using Maritime White from Lakeside Linens. It doesn't look white in here. It looks like, again, the lights are kind of whiting out this stuff. It looked like it had, it's like a hint of pink. So I'm not sure what Maritime White actually looks like, but I did not get that because didn't find it, for one thing. But I ended up getting something else that I really, really like. Again, I looked at the picture that was photographed for this and kind of correlating with the colors I had to use. And like, okay, I'll do that. So it is Crypt Cloth Lapin Loops is the fabric and the color. And it's a 36 count. So there's the little tag that they wrote for me. I got this at Country Sampler when I was in Wisconsin. So that's where that came from. And here he is. So you can see it does have a little bit of a pinkiness to it for the fabric. And Rodney is fabulous. Really, I think what draws me to this, because Rodney's huge, is this design that they've put in, the negative space for the thread, the design that they did that. It just really kind of makes him a little bit unique and different, and I like it. It's getting really close. Obviously, I've got a carrot. I'm working on another one. There is partial carrot below that, so you can see down there. See kind of things I have left to do. A lot of Rodney still, because I have just, I'm kind of up around his hip area here. So I've got all this down here still to do. But you know what? I'm loving Rodney. He's adorable. Get you a little bit close up if you wanted to see it. I did have to make a color change. So let me see what he is. They call for Silks and Colors Captain Sea Chest for Rodney. Couldn't get that. I was at Acorns and Threads, my local LNS, and they did not have it. So kind of looking at the picture, kind of deciding on, you know, what colors I wanted to use for it. I ended up coming up with that, and it is a Gloriana, right side up, and it is Pewter Dark. So if you wanted that information, let me see if that's going to help. So Pewter Dark is the color I'm using for him. I believe all the rest of them are the correct called for colors. It was just him that I couldn't get the color, and I ended up having to do something else. But I like the variegation in it. He's just adorable. Adorable. Okay, well, my cat got in my box that holds all of my bags with my whips in it, so we won't put this away quite yet. I will go on to show you the new start that I have done, and that is this one. So this is Pretty Little Hawaii by Satsuma Street. I just got the PDF version of this and printed it myself. So you can see all of the lovelies that are in there. And this, I mean, you can kind of see they've got kind of like that other one I used, that more rustic one with the little bits of brown sprinkled throughout. That is the fabric that looked like they used. Let me see if it says on here so we know what the name of that is. Yeah, it's Fiddler's Ada oatmeal, or light oatmeal. So that is what they used. They said they stitched it on 18 count. I wanted it to fill up more space than that, so I am stitching it on 14, or yeah, 14 count. I'm trying to remember what I did because I ended up having to go back and forth between linen and Ada until I found exactly what I wanted. And I didn't want to do just the white, but then, you know, you have to be careful because if you use blue, you're going to run into blues potentially blending in for the clouds and whatnot and everything else around here. Greens, they're going to blend in, and I didn't want to use necessarily some of the other colors that were there for my fabric, if I even had the color I would want. So just digging through everything, I came up with this. I love it. It is black. It's a black Ada, as I mentioned, 14 count. It's lovely. I love it. It's turning out very nicely. I like the way it pops on the black. So one of the things they do, or she does, when she makes these patterns for the cities, or in this case, Hawaii, considering the whole state, is that she gives a key and tells you what all of the different things are that are in that image. And so here is the thing for this. So it tells you what all of these things are that are in those pictures. So I have done number 1, which is this little part here, and I'm still working on number 2, the volcano. So it shows you all of them. So this number 1's on Maui. This is on the Big Island. And then, you know, you see it's got lots of the other Oahu, Maui, Kauai. So it's all over Hawaii. A lot of Oahu, though. I can see that. So that's kind of fun, being able to see what all of those are supposed to be that she has put in her design. So one more quick little look. There we go. Loving, loving, loving it. It's really, really pretty. She always has such bright, beautiful colors. So if that's not your thing, this would definitely not be something you would want to stitch. But if you know, and I don't like everything to be this bright, but certain things I do. So there is that. And that is all of the stitching stuff that I have to show you. The only other thing that I usually will talk about and include in my videos, if it's something that's interesting to you, is the planner pages that I do, that I design out and that I decorate. I'm not talking about the journal one that or the reading one that I showed you. This is my normal planner that I use. So I have the November pages in there for you to see, and I will put that in here now. And here we are with our November pages. Obviously this doesn't look like a week. This is just the front tab page, but I wanted to explain that that first week in November for this particular planner was the last part of October, and I felt like it should have been in October, but somehow it was not. And so I had already showed you those pages. So we are going to be skipping a little bit into November when we start our pages. And that is, get my page turned here. So obviously this is Monday, the 6th of November. So yeah, it does jump a bit. And for some reason, like I said, They put a lot of October in the November pages. It was kind of a good thing that I did do that last week for October in the last video and the last pages I designed, because even with that, I still had 4 weeks of November that I needed to plan out. So it all worked out in the end anyway. All right, so our first one. I'm going to try and condense this just a tad and not show you like every tiny little thing, like all of the washi tapes I use and whatnot. I'm going to try and focus on the main things here. So with this one, the only thing I'll mention here for this is just scrapbook paper over here that I had torn and added to the sides, kind of matching some of the green colors and the stuff I used. The biggest picture sections that you're seeing, you know, all of these here, are from this. Let me turn it the right way. This is from the Washi Tape Shop. Okay, it is on clear. They also have it where it's on white, kind of a white backing. But when you get that kind of stuff, it's really thin, almost like a washi tape, instead of a true sticker. So you have those options of getting either one, but they're going to have the same things on them. You're still going to have these images on that particular roll. So I got this and I used it, and I discovered something I didn't realize, is that both this with this clear backing as well as the one that has the white that feels like more like washi tape when you peel off the sticky back, is that you have to cut these out. You have to cut around them to however close to the images you want to get. You have to cut all of this out. I did not know that. So there, that's something to keep in mind. This, if I didn't mention, this comes from the Washi Tape Shop. So that's where I got these from. So I did that, and then a few other little bits and pieces here and there, like the sweater and the quote here and a few other little things I got out of this one. This is Essential Seasons. So you're going to have all 4 seasons in it, but as you can see, it's got some of the fall stuff in it, and that's what I ended up using as little accents here. One thing I will note for you is I use this as my little accent bit here, but this is actually more like, you know, a bullet point. So keep those things in mind if that's what you want to do. So here you go. Those are normally vertical like this, and use them as bullet points and write out whatever you want to do that day. I just needed a little accent in the right color, and there it is. So that's something you can do as well. All right, the next page is this one. This is also using stickers from an artist I have used before, and I have talked about her a bit before. Usually I don't have much to show you because I have pulled all the stickers off the sheet that I use. So that's this. It is from Pleasantly Planned. So you can see that. I still have one sticker left here. This one was called Homebody. So that's what this collection of stickers was referred to as. So this and this and these. Most of the stickers on here are from there. A few of them that I used from something else, like the animals, get a rabbit and a fox. I used this. It's a little packet of a whole bunch of little, well, kind of little stickers that you can use wherever you want. This is also from the Washi Tape Shop. So they do have some of those kinds of things as well. A couple of bigger things like this quote, as well as this giant flower, came from this book. So it's bigger. Seasons of Color. It's the big book. So it's got a lot bigger stickers. Those can be like your focal points. So I used that as well on that page. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you where I got all the boxes and stuff because they're from a variety of places, and it's just a matter of matching colors that you want to go with what you have. All right, the next one is this. Again, this is also stuff that I have shown before, that I've used before, and that is with this pack. So I think I showed you, I actually made a page for the last month that I used the fall one as well, and I did it again. So I used more of like this and I believe this were the main ones that I got my stickers from. A few little bits from some of the other pages, but mostly that was the ones, because I kind of went for this muted color. So even if it's fall colors, they're a little bit more muted. So pretty simple. I think I pretty much got everything from these pages. I didn't get anything from anywhere else on this except the boxes. And then the last week, here we go with this. My main focus that I started with was stuff from the washi tape shop again. And I'm going to show you, I got to unroll it here real quick, is these girls. So the girls have little sayings and sometimes little bits of, you know, decor that go with them. And you get a lot. So this just unrolls and unrolls and unrolls. There's probably like 12 or so different girls that you would end up seeing if I unrolled them. I also have another one here. I don't have it unrolled, but it's got all different girls as well. And I think I had to use both because these girls came from one of these, each of these rolls. And I wanted fall-ish colors. Not entirely sure if they are meaning to be fall, but those were the colors, and then that's what I wanted to use. This, again, was using that really big book, this one. So again, you can see how big it is. It's a really big sticker. So you got to have the room to do that. This is a big planner. So you have the classic and you got big and then you got the smaller ones. So this is a big one and you can see how much room it takes up. So those are good if I have the room. So if I'm going to be, you know, doing a lot of work where I'm not going to have a lot of stuff that I need to put on those days, then it's perfect for that. The other thing I did end up using was like this and this. So these are examples of, I didn't get them from the washi tape shop, but they feel like washi tape paper. They're really thin, kind of see-through. And it's this roll. I don't know where I got it, but it's just, I wanted to show it to you. So each flower peels off and then there's another flower behind it, behind it, behind it. And they repeat. So you only get like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different flowers, and then you're repeating again. So I ended up using that as well. I did use, because, you know, with these girls, there's only so much that comes with them, with each of them. And so you're kind of having to add to it as you can. So this flower was in the same book as this. And then this book, Fun Florals, I found colors that kind of matched as well. So this stuff and this stuff here, those helped, as well as I think I got this one from it too. Those helped pull a little bit more design into the page. This stuff is washi tape. I did something a little bit different. It's a little fiddly. The washi tape was basically striped. It's just these stripes you can see right back here behind this. And I didn't want to leave it just striped. I wanted a little bit kind of a gingham look, but not just totally gingham. So I fiddly cut little pieces and stacked them next to each other so you'd have that crosshatch pattern. But then I ripped both layers so you still see a little bit of stripe behind it as well as some of the gingham. And I did that on this side too. So it was a little fiddly, but I kind of have the look of both just the stripes as well as that gingham look as well. So very quick and easy. I didn't want to take a lot of time for this. It does take up a lot of times in my videos sometimes to go through these if I talk too much. And I know some of you aren't as interested in this, and so maybe just some little quick overviews of this is a little bit better. So once again, I will go through and show you a quick recap of what we have here. So that's the last week, the week of the 20th, the week of the 13th, and the week of the 6th. And if you wanted a refresher course, this was my Halloween page. So I've got a few more things going on there, but you probably would have already seen that if you watched last month's recap of all this. So hopefully I can give you a few more ideas, and we'll see you for more pages in the next video. So I hope you got some good things from all of this the video parts, the different sections, whether it's a good book review to maybe a recommendation that you like, stitching that you like to just look at, or possibly got inspiration that you want to stitch those, or just ideas for how to decorate planners if that's something you like to do as well. So lots and lots of ideas for you. I think November is going to be kind of a calm month. We will be going to my mother's for Thanksgiving. She hasn't lived around here for like 5 years, and so I haven't had the chance to do that. We've always either just had a real quiet time here at home, or you know, sometimes we've gone to our friends and had Thanksgiving with them and their family. But we get to go with her. She's about half an hour from the Oregon coast, so we actually have to go to the coast and then come in a little bit, considering the roads that we have to take. So that'll be nice to be able to see family and be able to do all that. I think our kiddos are coming with us, so that will be fun too, for everybody to be able to visit together and not just part of us. Yeah, I think November is going to be kind of quiet otherwise. So lots of time for stitching, hopefully. And then December, of course, you know, everybody's getting ramped up, and we've got Christmas and different things going on. And, you know, a lot of people sometimes have work parties or family, lots of family events. So, you know, I think it's going to be kind of busy for everybody. So with that, I'm going to leave you to hopefully have a restful November before we gear up and go crazy in December. And I will say goodbye and hopefully see you next time. Bye-bye.